Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abby.
That's me.
That's you.
And you.
Hey kids, story time.
Oh.
So real quick, yesterday we worked on recording this podcast and we ran out of, due to time constraints, we had to stop. We had to restart today. And it was funny because yesterday I had made a joke about us twinning. Abby was wearing a gray shirt. I was wearing a gray shirt. We were both wearing blue jeans. And
White
she was
tennis
like, and then when we were done, she was like, it's cool. I'll wear something else tomorrow. And I was like, awesome. So she goes walking down the hallway and I was like, what?
In my head, this is very different. It has orange on it. It's a different cut. I don't feel like we're twinning.
Totally different. Totally different, Abby. I don't know how you got to that conclusion. But here we are. We're twinning today, and go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
I'm excited about today's podcast. Before I kick it off, I want to say we're at nearly 8 years now.
I cannot believe that.
Yeah.
That broke my brain a little bit.
No, do the math. It's real.
In my head, it's just been a couple years.
I know.
8 years is a long time to do a podcast.
To be married to you. I mean,
to have regular conversations with you. It's been a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
No, but it is wild that it has been that long. And, I've been proud and also fascinated that for 8 years we have not missed a podcast.
That is because of you, sir. You are Mr. Consistent, Mr. Push the boulder up the hill, Mr. We will get stuff done, Mr. Upload it, because if you weren't here, they would never even get uploaded. I
don't want to say that not every hero wears a cape. Some of them are bald.
Yeah, I feel like you're underrepresented in the superhero community.
We really are. Like what? Lex Luthor? Like he's not a superhero?
No, he's a super villain.
Yeah. Why are we villains?
Do you want us to answer that?
No. Okay. So, but with that said, I think that that's really cool. It's going to play a role in some of the cool conversation we're having today.
Yeah, I thought we should start kind of just a very quick summary of how we got where we're at now and the journey that it's been on.
Well, yeah, there's
well,
let me say this. There's a very specific part of our early marriage journey that I want to dialogue about, and I think that Abby feels like it needs context, and you're not wrong. I think that it needs a little bit of context, especially for some of you who haven't watched The Connected Life before. Okay, you're going to be like, what is happening here? So we had a very unique history, and Abby's going to sum it up reasonably fast.
Okay. Well, the one thing I wanted to say before I jumped in was we've met some really good friends through the podcast. That's probably been one of my favorite parts. We've heard a lot of incredible people's stories, but the people we've met through the podcast, through the courses that heard about it from the podcast, we've become friends with so many of them, and that has been such a delight to me.
Yeah.
Getting to know people who are on the same journey as us, that feels incredible. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of our courses is you get to realize that there's a huge group of people that is wanting to become healthy and whole and connected and real and honest and authentic. And it just feels beautiful to realize you're not alone in the healing process.
Yeah. And to find out more about those courses, you can always go to Justin Abby, that's abi.com.
Well, we're going to have an announcement later about one that's coming up.
Yeah.
But so we started when we decided to get married. We did things very non-traditionally. We had a very non-traditional wedding. We made a very small wedding because we decided to take all of our money and spend it towards our first year of marriage. We were going on a road trip.
No. To spend it on our first 3 months of marriage. That was the idea. Now proceed.
Okay, yes. So we had decided we'll take a 3-month road trip around the U.S. and so our savings will go towards that. That's what we thought. Yeah. That 3-month road trip turned into a 6-month road trip. And then we came back. And when we came back, it turned into a year.
Nightmare. It evolved into a 6-month more nightmare.
For you, yes, it definitely did.
It was a 1 year in totality of not working. Mm-hmm. And it was panic-inducing, liberating.
2008, which is one of the reasons why it was so hard to get a job, is there was a huge crash
We came back and they were like, no work.
Yeah. And so, surprise, we had a year together. And that year actually dramatically transformed our whole lives.
Yeah, it became the foundation for everything that we do.
Yeah.
You know, all the conversations that we have in this podcast and all the business stuff and the courses we create, it was all rooted in what took place in that first year.
But we didn't know. That's beautiful hindsight. In hindsight, you're like, wow, something really big was going on and it was really important.
Yeah.
But in the moment, it felt horrible.
Yeah, you're just screaming, I'm so effed. I'm so effed. It's the end of my life. What are we going to do?
Yes. Yeah, that's why, thank God for getting older, where you can see that a lot of things work out differently than you imagined.
That's the beauty of age. Not that we're old yet.
We're old.
I was going to make a joke.
Yeah, I was going to make a joke too. Yeah. We both edited it. Anyway, so that year ended up, we took that whole year, and you're going to talk a little bit about what that journey was like for you and why that was important.
Yeah.
But just so people know, what ended up happening is we had dramatic transformation in that year. And when that year ended, we began to have friends that started getting impacted by our transformation. They ended up asking if they could pay us to meet with us because they were getting so much change in their life. Their mentors were like, you need to meet with them officially. And so we started meeting with that person, and then her friends started being like, what's going on? We want to meet with them. And then it snowballed into us having a business. And then we had so many clients, we had to start training other people to do what we did. Now we've trained hundreds of people all over the world in our modality who've been able to help so many more people. And we've run online courses. And so really all of our life, there was a huge, very important foundation that was laid in the year that we thought nothing was happening for us. And so go ahead and share about what that was like for you.
Yeah, I mean, I already made jokes about it, but it was so panic-inducing. I was freaking the F out. So I remember, especially when we landed back in LA, we would drive by people who were living on the streets. And I was like, that is my destiny.
I'm headed in that direction.
Before I got married to you, there was always this sense of like, I could go just couch surf if worst case scenario happens. I got tons of friends around. But then once I'm married, I'm like, you can't do that with a wife. You can't just, which we could.
You can, yeah.
But in my head, I'm like,
the pressure's on.
The pressure's on.
I got to provide now.
And we are going to end up destitute.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be selling my body.
At one point, you did seriously look into go-go dancing just to see what you could do.
I was like, oh, one of my friends, he's ultra gay. And that matters because he was like, Justin, you make so much money in San Francisco. I know. Because I know all my friends would try and turn you and they put so much money down that string. And I was like, no, Brian, I'm not dancing. But how much do they make? Brian, I love him.
And no judgment on people who've gone down that path to make money.
No, not at all.
Understandable. We're saying relatable.
I know how you got there.
Yes, 100%.
I was right there with you.
Yes.
But so one of the things that I heard early on as we started the process is I felt like I heard God tell me, this was that internal hearing, that internal voice say to me, I'm going to hit pause in order to teach you how to play. It was a sense of life was going to go on this divine pause. and then I would be able to play inside of life. And so up until that point, I had found myself running on a hamster wheel. Like, just keep yourself busy doing the next thing. And that had many different layers of it. I mean, one of the layers was I was absolutely terrified to really be connected to my internal experience. So there was like, if I really slowed down, like you'd feel panic rise, you'd feel fear rise, you'd feel pain rise every time the slowdown happened. And so it was like, keep yourself moving, whether that's moving in some sort of aimless work, job that doesn't seem to be going anywhere, or it's a hobby, or it's relationship drama, whatever it is that kept me moving past that. And so when you hit the pause button, there's an immediate like slamming into an invisible wall is what it felt like to me.
Yeah, all of the things that you've been avoiding internally.
Yeah, avoiding isn't possible all of a sudden. And at first, you and I think, aimed that energy at each other. Right? Like, you're my problem.
Yeah.
That it felt like some of that happened until it was like, no, I am my own problem. Like, this is my shit I've been running from that's coming to the surface that I have to face.
Ironically, that became one of your main statements as you worked with people for decades later. I am my own effing problem.
My spouse is not my problem. I am my own effing problem.
Yeah, I had to be your problem in our marriage for you to get that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're still the problem. But, you know, what happened is that there was a lot of my life where I was unconsciously a walking dead person. So we are in survival mode, just doing the next thing to survive, to make sure that the bills are paid, or to make sure that like our life isn't in complete shambles. But it's not with deliberate intent. And I was not aware of what I even wanted. So oftentimes when I'm like, what do I do next with my life? Like even when I graduated college, there was this panic that hit me. I went into panic attacks because I didn't know what to do. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Well, the level of the panic was equal to the level of me being disconnected from what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so once pause hits, I have to start asking what's going on inside of me, both the pain points and also what do I like? What do I want? What do I dream of? One of the things that I recognized very early on when I hit pause was that I had spent years telling myself, that's a dumb idea. That's not possible. That'll never work out for you. You weren't made for that. So I dismissed so much of this internal voice, and I'd shut so much of this internal voice down. So what I call our authentic voice is the voice inside of us that is disconnected from the rules and the regulations, the expectations, the societal, cultural norms that we have inside of our head that just say, well, this is what my parents did. This is what my family said about stuff. This is what religion says about things. It's like that obnoxious voice got silenced in the pause where I had to start going, but what do I actually think and feel in my gut? And that's where I discovered my dreamer. That's where I discovered this innocent kid who I had bullied for years.
Yeah.
Every time he spoke up with a dream rooted in some wild imagination, a dream that didn't have limitations, I had learned how to bully him. And I had learned how to back him into a corner, telling him to have realistic expectations, realistic in quotation marks, right? And I could hear the voice of certain authority figures in my life. I could hear my grandparents. I could hear my grandma. She tried to put me in my place a lot as a kid. And
I like to call them balloon poppers. You know, like you have a dream and you show somebody and it's like a balloon and they're just like, pop. That dream is done. Pop. That will never work out. Pop. You'll never be able to make it. Pop.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. And eventually, I remember in my own story, eventually I had the balloon popped enough that I was like, okay.
Yeah, this is just what it is and whatever. But all of a sudden, getting connected to that authentic voice that voice of innocence and purity, there wasn't just dreams, there was creativity. Mm-hmm. Right? Because that's our most creative self, getting connected to that voice. And all of a sudden, my most creative self starts coming alive because I begin the process of saying, I'm so sorry that I shut you down. I'm sorry that I've put all these hurdles between you and possibilities. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I've been the voice of limitation and I've called it reason.
Yeah.
I've been the voice of limitation and I've called it reason. And I had to own that. And as I began to own that, this what actually is a repentance process, which is changing the way that we think about life. I felt this liberty or this liberation happening inside of my soul.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden, before when I tried to whiteboard out ideas and I came up with a blank slate, all of a sudden when I'm like, I need some fresh ideas of what I want. All of a sudden, there's a flood. There's a continuous flow of what I want, what I hope for, what I could create. The possibilities start becoming endless inside of it. And so, for me, the creative expression started to happen, while also, all of a sudden, the connective expression. The ability to be present enough with myself made me capable of being present with you, right? As we're working on that. And I was able to disconnect from my broken view of productivity. And I want to say this and kind of toss it back in your court here, but you know, my fear is that if I wasn't being productive, I didn't have value. I suddenly had to start facing identity issues. Like my identity or my sense of value or self-worth was in my ability to keep moving forward and producing and creating stuff, even if it wasn't long-term beneficial for me. And, you know, in my panic, you said to me, hey, what if actually being productive is being here in this moment with me and tackling something inside of your heart? What if we redefined what productivity was?
What if it wasn't just a to-do list of accomplishments you could do? What if us being able to talk through a conflict is productive? What if us realizing, oh, this hits a pain spot from your childhood and now you're doing some grief for what you missed in your childhood? What if that is productive?
And that healing.
Yeah. What if getting emotional health is productive? What if having conversations where we understand each other better is productive? Like, what if being in the present moment is actually doing something for your life in throwing you forward? Because I think I've always measured, that's one, probably because I really had so many chronic health issues when I was younger, that I probably had to create a system of, you know, how you define success really equals how successful you feel.
Yeah.
It has much more, how successful you feel has much more to do with what you've labeled success is. So if success is always being ahead of everyone else, it's going to be really hard to always be successful. For me, I had labeled success as, you know, if I'm connected to something inside, if I heal something, if I'm growing, if I'm learning, if I'm experiencing life, like all of those things felt like they were throwing me forward. I had kind of like the Slumdog Millionaire concept of success. You know, the movie where he has this situation where all of these individual stories that from his childhood end up creating this one epic moment where he has all the right answers because of everything he'd gone through. I kind of had that mentality before I'd seen the movie of like, if I'm learning and growing and intentional about loving life and what's right in front of me, then that will build unto something.
Right. Where for me, I had total panic about the idea of it because I couldn't see vision for it prior to that moment.
But how will it work? Where will it go? What will it look like?
And oftentimes I I was a kind of a blend of radical faith in so many aspects. And then this other side of me that was like, I have to see it all laid out.
And I have to be able to do it myself.
And I have to be able to control it. Mm-hmm. And so as there was a requirement for me to get present with myself and you and face myself.
And learn trust and learn surrender.
I went into a major trust fall and surrender and acceptance. And part of the trust was allowing the panic to be silenced and just say, I just going to be here in this moment.
Yeah.
And along the way, I've talked about this a lot, but our friend Paul became a mentor in our lives, and he consistently just kept telling me as I panic text him along that journey, there's just enough grace for today. Just live in the grace of one day. And that was an absolute reprogramming of my being, is learning how to go, I'm going to be here today. What do I need to do today? What do I feel right about today? That didn't mean I never thought about the future.
Yeah.
It just meant I'm not going to go cast my cares on the future.
Yeah.
I'm going to just be here and be like, whatever the problem is today, there's going to be grace to solve those problems, those difficulties, those hurdles.
Yeah, it's very interesting because this was an area I had a lot of trust and you had a lot of fear. And there were a lot of areas you had a lot of trust and I had a lot of fear.
Yeah.
But there was a belief that there was something bigger than us guiding us forward, even if we couldn't see it. And we started reading. I mean, we read so much and we listened to so many teachings and audios from so many different authors. And even that felt really led. Like somebody would drop the right book in our lap while we were traveling, or the right teaching series, or the right whatever. And so it kind of felt like there were breadcrumbs kind of leading us. Or I'm reading this book right now about Eugene Peterson. He's the guy who wrote The Message. And the way he describes his life is like a dog that is like has a scent, that is following a scent. And the dog doesn't actually know, he doesn't know I'm going to this exact location. The dog is just following the scent. And that's kind of similar to the breadcrumbs. Like what is the next thing that I'm supposed to do? What is the next thing I'm supposed to dig into or look into or engage with my heart? And so when we didn't have a clear pathway for like, we didn't know what careers are we building towards and how will we get there, but we did get some whiffs of things like, oh, we need to work on our limiting beliefs. Oh, we need to work on having hope for our lives. Not because we're controlling them, but hope that is deeper than our control. Oh, we need to look at, for me, I spent a lot of time in those years working on my money beliefs because I had really bad money beliefs. And a lot of limiting beliefs about who we were, what we were capable of, what we could do with our lives. There was so much of that. So we're reading these books that are confronting us on how we're thinking and how we're believing and what our worldview is. And then we're wrestling out the truth of like, wait, what if I could believe that I could be powerful? You know, like for me, one of the things is I never thought I could do business. I had so many learning disabilities that were undiagnosed for years. And even at that point in our marriage, they were undiagnosed. And so I had this real, like, I'm never going to be able to lead in business. And so I remember you just over and over hammering me. No, you can be powerful. You can be successful. You can do what you set your mind to, and vision casting. And so we spent that time, like one thing was like, becoming aware of all these beliefs that were holding us back. I almost see it as less like being tied up with ropes, and we just finally became aware like, oh man, we're tied up with ropes. And then starting to vision cast for what could actually be possible, which was us like starting to break out of the ties that we had held. So you would vision cast things for me like, I see you being a powerful businesswoman. I see you being confident. I see you being comfortable in your own skin. I see you being so comfortable in your femininity that you could lead others to be comfortable in their sexuality. I see you and like things that I just thought I could never be. So we became aware of what our fears and lack was, the story it was creating.
The limitations, yeah.
The limitations it was creating in our life. And then we fought like hell to get out of those. And we started declarations. We started vision casting. We made vision boards. For me, one of the things that was so powerful was feeling what it would feel like when. So, and I'm really big on not attaching to a specific outcome. So we were never like, this is exactly what we'll do and this is how it will happen. But we attached more to feelings. So I would be like, I'd close my eyes and I'd imagine one day I'm going to feel confident in my own skin enough that I could teach other people. I didn't know what teaching would look like or where or how or when, but just it was more the feeling of what if I felt like I had something to offer? What if I felt like I had wisdom or strategy? What if I, or, you know, like when I'm imagining myself in business, I'm imagining myself believing that I'm smart, believing that I'm capable, believing that I have what it takes, believing that people would want to follow me. Like, and so I'd start feeling those feelings as if those feelings were true. And that was a lot, even just doing that, imagining what it would feel like to be that future version of us, often was that breaking out of the ropes of the prison of the limiting beliefs. And so we were spending that year like in a glass box, boxing out, being like, no, I'm not going to stay stuck in what I've known, in what I've seen, in what I've believed. I'm not going to keep believing lies about me forever. I'm not going to because we recognized what we believe. That's one thing I think we learned that year that was so powerful. What we believe, our confirmation bias will continue to confirm, and then we will make decisions that act out of it, and then we will continue to find that pathway happening to us over and over again. So if we want to change our lives, we have to change our beliefs.
Well, excuse me, I keep having something in my throat here. I'm going to bring this back to a little bit of the spirituality aspect of the conversation. Yeah. There's this idea that we are all children of God and that there is an identity in God that transcends the identity that we extract out of our external circumstances, whether it's our looks, our jobs, our social status, whatever it is. And what this season was the beginning of really sculpting our identity. Mm-hmm. An aspect of that identity is being a co-creator. Mm-hmm. Like we started to understand, first off, truth. So like the truth of who we are. Oh, this is actually who I am. I'm not a lowly dog that is
a piece of shit.
A piece of shit. I'm actually a child who's very worthy of good things inside of life. Not because of anything I've done, but because I'm simply a child of God. I've been created in, I've been created in a creator's image, a loving, radically loving creator's image. And because of that, that means something very powerful about me. And so it's like the truth of our being was catching up to the reality of where our soul was sitting. So basically our soul was sitting in this strapped up tight, strapped down with lies and heaviness and heavy burdens and lies about our value, lies about God's involvement inside of our life. And it's almost like our eternal self got awakened and started waking up the soul. Like, hey, guess what? You're a child of God. You're worthy of these things. This is who you are. This is what you're capable of. And the soul started breaking out of that. And there's like an awakening. There's like a mind soul awakening that happens. And you're like, oh my gosh, these are actually truths. I've been living in accusational lies here that have created immense amounts of limitation. And I felt like a victim to the life that was sitting in front of me. And somebody just hit pause on my life and said, hey, come look at me. Come listen to me. You don't have to be a victim anymore. I'm going to show you what it is to walk out a victorious life, even when it's difficult and all the things that happen inside of it. Like, I'm going to show you who you're made to be.
Yeah.
And that to me is so vital to actually cultivating a thriving life, is returning to the truth of our being. Again, that's what was discovered. And the reality is that if we didn't ever change the external circumstances, if it didn't yield opportunities, speaking opportunities like you talked about, or finances or whatever,
or stepping into business or all the things that we started to believe, we've actually seen happen in our lives.
If it didn't yield that,
it still would have been worth it.
1000%. Because if I am living in a higher truth inside of my soul, I am now thriving regardless of the external conditions. And that's what started happening is like suffering is part of the human condition. So there's not a part of the internal work that we can do that eliminates this out here.
Totally.
It can change a lot of conditions. There's a lot of things we can have power over, but it doesn't mean that it eliminates suffering. But what it will do is it eliminates the unnecessary internal suffering that we exacerbate through the lies and the belief systems. And so what it causes is like, there's been seasons like, I almost died, and I still like found a sense of life and goodness in the midst of facing death, because this thing got awakened in the beginning of our marriage. Whereas I don't even know if I would have lived if I still had the hopelessness, but I had an eternal hope, an eternal joy, an eternal perspective on so much because of what got awakened there.
Yeah, it was a very powerful season, and there was a lot of healing, It was a forced pause for you. You didn't want to be paused. You wanted to be working.
No, I was internally kicking and screaming like, I don't know, 50% of that time off.
Yeah, and 60 or 50% of the time off, you were trying to find a job. You didn't want to be in that season. And yet, I often think like you had worked since you were 13. And I always think about kind of knowing what normal we come from and then learning to balance what we came from. So you'd worked since you were 13. You never really had like a summer off. You'd never really had time off. And so for you, having time off in that year was so healing.
And vital to my well-being.
Yes, because it started to give you enough time to dream. Like you talked about before, to actually think about who you wanted to be. And I think you can do that without having a year off. Like I dream a lot and I work a lot. So it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Well, there was a reset of my entire system that was an intentional reset.
Yeah, entire worldview change. They call that like, there's like different terms that different cultures have it. Like it can be like a death that you go through, not an actual literal death, but like everything of how I viewed the world no longer is fitting or working. And so I'm having to reconstruct a different worldview. And that's really what you did that first year. And it was that reconstructed worldview that actually enabled us to have something to offer other people. Because we'd gone on a pathway of facing things inside of us and beginning to overcome in a way that enabled us to be guides to other people who are on the pathway so that they also could overcome and find their way out of their prisons as well. Yeah.
What were you, I lost my train of thought while you were talking.
Sorry. I don't know.
No, you're totally good. Do you have more you want to say on it?
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing is, so we started, I think about one memory that we had on that is that we started when we were dreaming, we'd go to the airport. That's one of the things we do. And we'd literally declare over our lives, like one day we're going to come to the airport a lot because we'll be traveling all over the world and we'll be speaking and we'll be flying in and out and we just envisioned what it would be like and dreamed about it, declared it, engaged that, had it on our vision board. And one of the most miraculous things from that year is how many things we saw come true. We lived that. We traveled too much. We traveled all the time. We traveled around the world to speak. We ended up, and I think about things like when we went to the airport, we were dreaming of that and we had no idea how that would ever happen. And then I ended up having a dream that actually went along with that. And I've never realized that until to this moment, literally right now, where the dream was that I worked at the front desk at this one place. But after working at the front desk at that one place, I knew I was going to be able to travel the world. And so that went along with this declaration we'd been making. It was just not at the same time, so I didn't think about it. So I followed the dream and I got a job at that as a receptionist at that one place, which led to another thing, which led to another thing. And all of a sudden I'm traveling the world speaking, and I had no idea how to make it happen and no idea where it would go. But there's something about when you set aside enough time and space to actually get intentional about your life and what you want to feel and what you want to engage and who you want to be in life. And that doesn't have to be that you have a year off, because we've done a lot of resets without taking time off. We have done a lot of things where we've re-engaged vision. Now, what is our vision? Now, what do we want? What are we engaging? And so you can do that at any given time. But the idea would be to understand that when you get intentional about your life and facing your fears and expanding your worldview, it does actually transform you.
I wanted to add this. I remembered what I was going to say earlier. So for me, there was me living on a hamster wheel, and I had to keep the wheel going. And as I was running from myself, there are other people who it's quite the opposite.
Yeah. I was like that in different seasons.
Right.
Where I did nothing.
Right.
Most of it was because I was sick.
But where there are people who there is no momentum.
There's no life drive.
And because there's no life drive at all, they also can't dream.
Yeah.
Like there are some people, like when you understand yourself, you go, oh, in order for me to get my dreamer working, I have to actually get momentum, just life momentum. That means just get off my butt and get a job.
No, sometimes I've told people the best way to get a dream is to get a job, any kind of job, because then that starts opening up your brain to be like, what do I like about this? What do I not like about this? How do I move up? What are the other options?
Right. And so for those people, I mean, like as we're having this conversation, we're all on a spectrum of like what we need for our life to move forward. And I think that that's something to very much consider. Am I stagnant? And a lot of like inspirational speakers or motivational speakers will be like, just get active.
Yeah, once you get something moving,
and then you can start directing yourself based on that.
Well, and even in our own story, the way that we dreamed for that year, and then what happened is I became a receptionist. I just answered phones, which to me was the opposite of all the dreams we had just dreamed, and I was so devastated by that. And you had a hard time finding a job and had to work for your dad, and then had to work at a ranch doing manual labor. Yeah. So and those things were part of us coming alive still. Right. Those were actually taking us to the next step in the freedom process. Those weren't deterring us from our dreams. Those were empowering us to practically, I had to learn self-confidence. I had to learn confidence. You can learn confidence from answering a phone. I got really good at answering that phone. I had a line of people at the desk who wanted to come talk to me about their life because I had great input to give into it. They said I was the best front desk person they'd ever had. They didn't want me to quit. Yeah. Like that built confidence in me. And that had nothing to do with what I was going to end up doing, but that was life momentum.
Yeah. And for me, sorry, I might have lost my thought again as you shared that part there. I was thinking about how we were different. Like there was a requirement for me to stay still again. So there was, while you were doing a lot of that work, I was also stopped for working for a few months. And then I had to start working again. And then I had to stop again and not be working. And so there was an ebb and flow. And I was working really hard when I was working, like 80 hours a week through the summer with my dad. But my soul, there was a requirement my soul had. Like everybody's soul requires something different for how they get their change, their evolution. And for me, the way that I faced my fears was having a big roadblock in my face to the point where everything for me would bubble to the surface and I'd freak out and then I'd have to acknowledge each of these things. But one of the things I was going to say with all of that is each time it was an act of trust to an internal voice. So there was an invitation for you to go participate as a receptionist. For me, there was an invitation to sit down, shut up, and stay stagnant, and then go back into a field of work.
It was not your dream.
It's not how I'm wired. It was electrical. It wasn't how I was wired though. and I was like, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. I don't want to do this. Well, what do you want, Justin? Like, and there was this, I don't know. Well, you better figure it out or you're going to be doing this. I don't want to do this. Figure out what you want. And I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I remember there was a crossroads in me having that battle where I was like, I can go back for another summer season, 4 to 5 months of doing this work again, or I can roll the dice on myself. We've already had these people start to like pay us to do this thing. I've been saying, no, I can't do that. It was my own limitation. And all of a sudden I was like, no, I am going to risk and trust that this is going to work out. I'm going to tell my dad I am not coming back to work for his business now.
That's huge.
And this is where I am going all in on the idea of I'm going to get paid to help people come alive inside of their heart. And I remember when I was in high school, my best friend, his dad was a counselor and a pastor. And we'd sit around on Sundays and critique counseling situations he had. Not talking about who the people were, but like, here's this thing. And I was like, there's aspects of that I would love if I spent my life getting to talk to people about what's going on inside of them and help them to the other side of stuff. But there was this idea of like the route of what that looked like.
Yeah, totally.
I didn't know how to get there. I didn't want the route, the normal counselor route. I wanted something that was like, had the freedom to challenge people in ways that were outside of the box. And I distinctly remember being like, I want this, but there's no way to make it happen. And then you fast forward to I'm sitting there and I'm doing the thing that I really know I'm not made for. And I'm suddenly being forced to say, all right, it's true. I want that. I want that. And I want to make that happen.
Yes.
And I might look like an idiot and I might fail and I might feel stupid, but that's okay because I'm going to go for this and whatever. And so here we are today, right?
Yeah.
But again, it took, it wasn't like I was figuring this all out on my own. I'm going back to that internal voice because that internal voice was so necessary. It was me actually believing there was something bigger than me participating in my story, our story, who wasn't just me bumbling along and fumbling through life. And the biggest pain point for me always was believing the lie that I am separate and I'm on my own to figure it all out on my own. And all of this seasonal stuff that we did started like cultivating something inside of me that said, I'm not alone. Not just because Abby's with me, but I am not alone inside of this world. And I have direct access to something that will actually throw me into the truth of my being.
Now, the thing is that it's never a magical thing. It's never like, oh, I'm not alone. God is with me. And now it's magically easy. And here's all the things. Like, I can look back on hindsight and see where God was leading every single moment. But in the moments, it felt like, oh my gosh, what is happening? We're going to drown. I don't know how this is going to work out. How will this ever come to pass?
Hundreds, if not thousands of times that I was like, there is no God. It's all a lie I've been believing. It's all a load of shit.
That's actually true. There were so many times.
I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. Should have never believed.
Yes.
And grace kept abounding. Grace kept overtaking me in all those moments and reawakening me to hope and showing me like, no, you got to like, see, this is where I'm at inside of this.
And I think that there's some real like transition moments. I was thinking about this when you were talking about that. And a lot of times we need to figure out a way to get enough stress off of our plates to have room to dream.
Yeah.
To have room to figure out what's next. And I was thinking about one of my friends who was an entrepreneur, creator, making her own content, making money that way. And she's like, I'm really stressed, always having to figure out the next thing, always having to make a plan, not having somebody else just pay me. She was like, I need to go get a job and just have somebody pay me where I just know that it's coming so that the life stress of bills and what's next is off my shoulders so that I can dream, so that I can figure out what I want. And I've had lots of friends like that because it is stressful to not know what you're doing and to not have any rhythms and routines and to not be making money. And it's also stressful to be so busy in a job, like you got to the place where you're like, I can't actually keep consulting, because you were like, you'd have to quit for 5 months and then come back and start over, and then quit for 5 months and come back and start over. And you're like, I can't do both of those at the same time.
And that even happened, just to add this to it, there was that transition. Then there was, we need to actually create online content that's accessible to way more people because this isn't sustainable over here like this in one-on-one sessions all the time. Yeah. And it's actually not making the greater impact that we could make. And I remember the crossroad of having to be like, but if I let go of this and get out of the routine of my one-on-ones,
what if the money doesn't come through? What if we don't sell the courses?
Right,
what if we don't?
This thing's consistent.
And I know how to count on it.
Yes. And then there was another trust fall that started taking place, which I like. If you're engaging, if you're doing more than surviving and actually wanting to thrive, these pivot moments happen over and over again. They keep opening up in your life, whether it's a pivot moment based on my soul needs this, or I just know that in order to go further, I'm going to have to let go of something to make something more happen. But it's going to take risk. It's going to take belief. It's going to take hope.
Yeah. And I'd say, I used to think as soon as you know what you're doing with your life, then you'll be at peace. And that's not
Lies.
How... not that you'll not be at peace. That's
Never.
Maybe the wrong one. Then
no peace.
Everything will be certain is kind of what I felt.
Yeah.
Like if I could just figure, because I thought the reason that everything feels unstable is I don't know what I want to do. I don't know my pathway. What I have come to find out, and through everyone's life, not just my own, watching my friends as they go along the path, is that even if you have a very stable career and everything's great, at any given point, some pivot could happen that then you're like, I have to trust again. I have to trust this next step. Whether it's I have to trust this next step by going back to a job I didn't want to do, or I trust this next step because I'm leaping into something I've always dreamed of. Both things are trust falls. And I've seen people grow the same way forward through both circumstances. There were times when you went backwards, it felt like, and that was actually doing something emotionally, healing you, helping you move forward emotionally. And a lot of the transitions in life are like that. They take so much courage and they take so much faith. I remember I quit a job where I had so much momentum and favor, and they literally advised me not to quit because they're like, they'll forget about you. Like, you have so much momentum and favor, you don't want to end that. And I knew that I had to end. I was sick and I knew I wasn't healthy enough to keep doing that job. And when I quit and people couldn't understand, the next year I had more favor than I'd ever had. That fear, that leap of being like, I don't know, I'm quitting and I might lose it all. The truth is I might lose it all. I might lose all the favor. I might lose all the momentum. I may have that all happen. And that would be okay because I'm taking care of my body, which is my number one priority as a human. And so we've seen a lot of, whether it's taking a job that I didn't think would be the right fit, going backwards. I've done jobs backwards multiple times that ended up throwing our business forward in ways I never would have imagined.
Right. Which, by the way, I'm going to sound like a doomsdayer about right now. And I know the impact of what I could say here could be hard for a lot of people to swallow. There's a conversation currently happening that there's an estimated over around 100 million jobs that are going to be lost as AI takes over in the next so many years. And
this is such a hopeful podcast.
But this is where this conversation becomes the bedrock of the future. Because there are those who will get present with themselves, present with their creator, and present with hope,
and that growth and learning,
that will be innovators who where they've said that there's only doom and gloom for the future. of America in this area, but there will be innovators who will step up and say, but I know another way. I know more options. I know what the world needs right now. I know how to evolve with AI because I'm following this gut leading of what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to participate, not only from my own life, but potentially the jobs and the experiences that are created. There is an evolution of humanity that we are on the brink of that we don't have full eyes for. But when we can start the cultivation process now of getting connected like that, then we're going to follow the heartbeat of what's needed for our lives.
Well, and it's not even that you have to know how to, like, what the steps will be, because we've never known what the steps are.
You don't need the bigger thing.
What I've done is connected to, I'm going to figure out how to learn and grow in every season. I'm going to become more of who I am. I'm not going to have more limiting beliefs. I'm not going to decide, oh man, there is no hope for me. I'm going to decide to fight like hell for hope. I'm going to fight like hell to believe and build my confidence and see that. And so I think that is the call of this, is to become intentional in your worldview, in your world, with what you are in charge of with what you have access to how do I be a learner and a grower? How do I find life momentum in whatever season I'm in?
Right. Because,
like, I know moms who are stay-at-home moms in the very early ages, and momentum for them looks like learning how to not go crazy.
Yeah.
Like, because their life is repetitive over and over and over again, and they're not sleeping, and there's people that need them 24/7, and it's overwhelming, and it feels like Groundhog's Day. And so I'm like, in this season, coming alive is fighting for hope still, fighting to remember that you matter, doing a breath work in the middle of your day so that you can feel grounded, figuring out how to still value yourself when you're not producing like you used to, figuring out how to enjoy this new thing in your life and not just get lost in what isn't.
Yeah. There's a sense of, regardless, like, we've had doomsday scenarios going back to the beginning of time of, like,
they just had a potential rapture date recently that we passed by. So we made it through another crisis.
Survived another rapture.
I've survived so many raptures. I'm the best.
But there
I guess I'm the worst.
There's this idea where, when we look back historically, it was always the next war was the end of the world or something like that. And it was the end for some people in those wars and stuff. But the bigger picture, right, is that it hasn't ended. And if we actually get hunkered down inside of our own being, inside of cultivating this now, no matter what happens, there is a confidence, there is a power, there is a trust, there is a peace that you can begin to foster that not only impacts you, but it impacts the world around you. And that's what I'm hoping that people start doing. Like, as even when they listen to something like this, what if this is the open door for someone to go, you know what? I'm going to become that regardless of what the future holds, whether it's in America, worldwide, in my small little life that I live inside of, will I be this staple of confidence, power, love, trust, hope, goodness? Like, can I become that? Can I be content in all that? Because nothing's assured for us, but following our hearts and following that voice that's leading us has always led us to the best opportunities, experiences for our souls possible.
Well, and when you say best experiences for our souls, that doesn't mean it's led us only to good situations.
No.
It's led us to things that have liberated us.
Yes.
From fear, from judgment, to become more like love, to become more like peace, to become more like joy.
Yeah.
And I think that's the power.
So that's the eternal nature of love has been being made manifest inside of each of our lives and is continually being made manifest as we live in a submitted place to that journey.
Well, and that's why I think we feel like there's a lot of momentum, because in every season we've transformed.
Yeah.
It's not in every season our business has grown, but in every season we've transformed. Mm-hmm. And that feels like momentum. And I'm thinking about, some of you are listening out there and you're like, this is inspiring or not inspiring, depending on how you feel. But how do you actually do that? And I was thinking, you wrote a book about this whole process, about learning how to come alive where you're planted. And it's such a fun book. It's called The Tree of Life. And it's an allegory of how to find our childhood innocence again, how to dream again, how to face tragedy and come alive again, how to become more like love, how to not let the lies limit you. And so if you're looking for just a practical roadmap, this book is the journey. You wrote it after your whole process of going on it, and it's fun. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It'll help you feel things inside, and it's a good compass for the journey that people are in.
You can find that on Amazon and Audible if you want.
The Tree of Life by Justin Stumbaugh.
But does that transition us to the next portion of the conversation?
Yeah. And so what I was going to say is, in our personal life in this season, we have felt like we need a little bit more space to dream and to have vision for where we're going. We've been working really hard for the last few years. If people knew the amount of hours and what we've had to do in our business, I feel so thankful for it. I love it. I wouldn't change it. It's been wonderful. But also we're tired because we've done so many things, and maybe we did too many things. I don't know. But, and so we're like, we are so aware that living without vision is painful and, not as inspiring, not as fulfilling. And we're like, we need to engage our dreamer a little bit more. Yeah. And not only that, like, you've been really sick, and I think your body needs a little bit of a break.
This last year I was very sick.
And so we're going to take a little sabbatical from doing the podcast. We've done 52 episodes for almost 8 years, that's a lot. I can't do math easily, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
I want to say that's like 400 episodes.
Yeah. Getting close to 400.
We're bosses.
Yeah.
But so we're just going to take a little tiny sabbatical, and we're going to replay some of our
greatest hits.
Our greatest hits for just a little bit of time. So if you're new here, you're going to love it. If you're old here, you're going to be like, I forgot about that. That's so good. I needed to hear that again. That's perfect timing for me.
Yeah. So with that, we're going to, I want to talk just a little bit about dreaming and stuff like that. Going back to our first year of marriage, I'm like, I want to become so freshly inspired, both for the people who listen to us and just for myself. Like, what are the conversations that are needing to be had? What are the things that I am wanting to create in this world? I think this last year, I thought I was going to write a couple more, or at least one more book.
Yeah.
And my health wasn't allowing me to do that.
Yeah.
But this sabbatical is going to be a way for us to honor our bodies and our minds and our emotions. It's going to be a way to honor our future. It's going to be a way to honor our relationship, where we just take kind of all the load that's been on our shoulders off, and just be like, what's right here? So, and that makes me really hopeful for 2026, what the podcast looks like in 2026, what the endeavors are that we do as we figure that out. I don't think I'm going to get the full answer to all of that in this time.
Yeah.
But I think if
we're going to start the process of just engaging.
Yeah. Settling again back into that part of ourselves. And I'll say that, you were reflecting earlier on how so much of the stuff that we've dreamed about has actually come to pass.
I know, it's crazy. The amount of things on our vision board that has happened is insane.
And I sat there and I've almost been a little bit hopeless about that, which sounds really funny.
Yeah.
But I remember a conversation I was having internally where I was like, what the hell is the point of my life now? Because I was like, I feel like I hit so many check marks. I checked off so many boxes.
So many dreams. You're like, I need some new ones to want to run for. Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I even doing with my life? It doesn't mean I'm not doing anything. I'm doing a ton.
Yep.
But what is my heart wanting? So, yeah, I think the sabbatical will be good.
I feel really hopeful because, for those of you who don't know, I've had PTSD, and when you're in survival mode, dreaming is impossible. I remember so many people asking me questions along the lines of, what do you want to do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I was like, I don't think you understand. I'm trying to make it through the day. the day. And so, for a long time, I needed to just do what was right in front of me without dreaming. That was important for the past few years. Just what is right in front of me, what is right in front of me, what is right in front of me. And I'm so glad I did it because I needed a time where I didn't have capacity to dream. And so I actually feel like the fact that I'm feeling like I want to re-engage that is showing that I'm healing a little bit more out of survival. I'm healing a little bit more. And even like I talked about my friend earlier who was like, I need to get a full-time job so that I have capacity to dream. What is it that you need to do so that you can feel enough relief in your either in your schedule or your stress level or your time so that you can engage living life with a dream? And a dream doesn't have to be like even this is where we want to go. We've never really had dreams like that. It's often this is who we want to become.
Yeah, that's good. Was there anything else you wanted to say in this episode before I
close it?
Bow tie on it.
I am really excited. I have information about what I'm going to be leading next year that will be coming out. So pay attention. I think there'll be an announcement maybe even on this episode later.
Oh, wow. Didn't know anything about any of this. I'm surprised yet again. Abby curveball, stumble.
That's the truth. We're so thankful that you guys have been with us through this process. We're so thankful that you are staying with us together on this journey. And for any of that you have been with us for 8 years, write to us and let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Let's do a special small group, like an online Zoom meeting, just one. For people who've been with us the whole time.
All right. If you go to our website, we're making this up on the fly. So if you go to our website at Justin and Abby, that's abi.com, and you scroll down to the message box on that front page, I want you to send a message that says, been here 8 years, add me to the list.
Yeah.
And we will find a time to do a Zoom meeting for the people who have been here since the get-go.
Yep.
And we'll find a good date. We'll let you know the information.
Yep.
And then we'll all hang out and we'll talk about how you've transformed, how you've found new hope, how your families have grown and stuff. Like, that sounds really fun.
How many kids you had after our sex episodes?
Yeah. If there's only like one of you that signs up for this,
then it'll be extra fun time.
Then I guess it'll just be us and you.
All right. We like you guys so much. Go dream. Get Justin's Tree of Life.
Yes.
You have pulled up your go away mug.
And as always, go away. Bye now.